A millionaire CEO finds a cleaning lady sleeping in the bathtub of his suite and falls in love at first sight. Before we start the story, leave a comment. Which city are you watching from? Enjoy the story. Lucy was exhausted. After a whole week scrubbing floors like a private cleaning machine and folding endless sheets, this was the last sweet of the night. After this, I'm going straight home, sticking my feet in the fridge and collapsing on the floor, she mumbled, pushing the cleaning cart like a worn-out tractor. She entered the presidential suite, unimpressed by marble floors, crystal chandeliers, or towels folded into swans. All she wanted was to finish and go home. She cleaned the bedroom and finally reached the bathroom, the real battlefield. The bathtub, it was huge, white, imposing. She knelt down, rested her arms on the edge, and felt the world spin. Sleep hit her like a knockout punch. "Just 5 minutes," she whispered, sliding inside with all the grace of a panda rolling downhill. She lay there, inside the empty bathtub, still in uniform, sneakers on, ID badge dangling, smudged mascara, mouth slightly open. And before she could finish the thought, "just 5, she was snoring like a tiny asthmatic kitten. Arthur Garcia, CEO of the Garcia hospitality empire, entered the presidential suite with the urgency of a man 3 minutes away from exploding. A long day, boring meetings, fake smiles, and a cocktail event where the drinks were bad and the conversations were even worse. "All I want is a shower," he muttered, tossing his shirt onto the sofa. He opened the bathroom door with a tired sigh, and what he saw nearly gave him a heart attack. "What?" he shouted, jumping back as if he'd seen a ghost wearing headphones. There she was, a woman, sleeping, in his bathtub, snoring, wearing a cleaning uniform, all twisted up, with one arm hanging over the side and the other hugging a bottle of soap. "What? How? Why?" Arthur stammered, eyes wide, heart pounding. "Ah!" Lucy woke up screaming, sitting up in a panic. "Did the rice burn?" "What? Am I late for school?" she yelled again, whipping her head around. "School? You're in my bathroom." Lucy finally opened her eyes completely and froze. A man, tall, shirtless, angry, rich, yelling, "Oh God, I'm dead. I died and ended up in the wrong heaven. Are you a trespasser? A psychopath? A cleaning spirit?" "I swear I wasn't planning to kill you," she screamed, throwing a sponge at him. "Kill me? Why would I be killed by a woman who smells like disinfectant?" Lucy tried to scramble out of the bathtub, slipped, hit her knee, tried to grab the edge, slipped again, fell backwards, screamed, "I'm stuck. The bathtub caught me." "Are you possessed?" "I was just tired, that's all. I swear, I work here." Arthur paused. He looked at the ID badge around her neck. "Lucy Ramirez, housekeeping. You work here?" "Yes, I did. Now I'm probably fired, or dead from embarrassment, one of the two." Arthur took a deep breath. "You fell asleep in my bathtub, in uniform, snoring." "You heard that?" she whispered, turning bright red. The entire hotel heard it. Lucy tried to get up, but her leg got tangled in a cleaning rag. She fell again, this time on her knees, arms raised. "Please, sir, I beg you. It was just exhaustion. I'm not crazy, just so tired." "Why didn't you sleep somewhere else? A chair? The floor?" "Because no chair has the same charm as this bathtub, right?" Arthur wasn't sure whether to call security or sit down and laugh. "Do you realize what a scandal this would be if a guest had found you?" "I know. I'd be fired, blacklisted, banned from the industry, and probably end up on a website titled, 'Cleaning Lady Sleeps in Guest's Bathtub and Snores in High C Major.'" Arthur crossed his arms, assessing the situation. She was clearly a walking disaster. But she was funny and real, and she hadn't meant any harm. She was just exhausted. "Get up, Ramirez." "Seriously? Am I fired?" "Get up before you become part of the suite's decor." She grabbed her bucket, sponge, and tripped 3 times before reaching the door. "Thank you. I swear I'll never touch a bathtub again. Only showers, I promise." Arthur stood there staring at the bathtub, silent. After a long moment, he laughed, a quiet, muffled laugh, but a real one. "What kind of hotel am I running?" Lucy left the presidential suite like someone fleeing a crime scene. Bucket in one hand, dignity in the other, or whatever was left of it. The hallway was silent, but she swore even the carpet was judging her. "Great, Ramirez. Congratulations. You slept in the bathtub of the hotel's most important guest. What's next? A nap in the kitchen?" She muttered under her breath, sighing as she pressed the elevator button. The worst part was that her brain was on high alert. Tired? Yes. Exhausted? Absolutely. But now, She was awake enough to write a doctoral thesis on extreme embarrassment. She stepped into the elevator, tried to hide in the corner, and pressed the button for the lobby. She just wanted to disappear. Arthur remained there for a few more minutes, staring at the bathtub as if it were an Egyptian sphinx trying to present him with a riddle. The scene kept replaying in his mind. The woman snoring, the shock, the yelling, the confusion. It was unbelievable and funny, way funnier than he wanted to admit. He sighed and walked over to the bed, but sleep was long gone. Instead, he picked up his phone. "Martin, yes, I've arrived. No, I don't need anything right now. Just one thing. Who's in charge of housekeeping today?" "I can check for you, sir." "Do that, discreetly." "Did something happen?" "Let's just say I found a living surprise in my bathtub." He replied before hanging up. He was still smiling. The next morning, Lucy woke up to her alarm ringing like the funeral bells for her own soul. She had slept less than 5 hours. Her body ached in places she didn't even know existed, and the shame from the day before still throbbed like an open wound. "Maybe if I quit before they fire me, I'll still look like a respectable person," she said to the mirror while brushing her teeth. But deep down, she knew she couldn't. She needed the paycheck, the overtime, and most of all, she needed to keep paying for her younger sister's prep course. She put on her uniform, threw her hair up in a messy bun, and rushed out the door to avoid being late. If she was going to get fired, at least she'd do it on time. The hotel was busier than usual. Guests, staff, the strong smell of coffee in the air. Lucy slipped past the front desk with quick steps, like she was on a secret mission to save her own reputation. She was determined to stay invisible all day. But the universe had other plans. During her break, she stepped out of the laundry room carrying a stack of bed sheets and ran straight into him. Arthur. No suit, no security, no warning. And of course, she tripped. The stack of sheets collapsed onto the floor like an avalanche. And to make things worse, one of them flew straight into Arthur's face, covering him from head to shoulders. "I didn't see you there," Lucy shouted, frantically trying to pull the sheet off as if she were defusing a bomb. Arthur calmly removed the fabric, his expression unreadable, and looked at her. Lucy smiled, or tried to. It was more of a nervous grimace than a real smile. "Listen, about yesterday." "Yes, about yesterday," he cut in, still serious. "I've already apologized mentally like 100 times. I just didn't text you because, well, I don't have the CEO's number. I didn't even know you were the CEO, or that you'd be in the room, or that it was your room. Anyway, I don't usually sleep in other people's bathtubs, I swear." Arthur raised an eyebrow. Sleeping in a stranger's bathtub doesn't exactly sound like a good habit. "Yeah, I know. Terrible choice. It's just... the sleep hit me so hard it was like some kind of orthopedic mattress hypnosis." Silence. Long enough for her to wish the ground would swallow her whole. Then, Arthur spoke. "Come with me." "Huh? Now? Like, now? "Yes, now. She stood frozen for 2 seconds, trying to figure out if this was a threat, an invitation, or the beginning of a corporate kidnapping. "I'm still in my uniform. Can I at least put the sheets down?" Arthur turned and started walking ahead, like the world was in slow motion, and he was the main character in an action movie. Lucy dumped the sheets onto a cart and ran after him, completely panicked. "Oh God, this is the day I become a meme," she whispered. Arthur's office was inside his presidential suite. Of course, because CEOs don't have regular offices. They have personal workspaces with city views, futuristic coffee machines, and sofas that look straight out of a European film catalog. Lucy stepped in like she was entering enemy territory. Arthur shut the door behind her and sat down in his chair, as naturally as someone who was always in control. "Sit. I'd rather stand, in a position of regret." "Lucy." She sat. "Okay, I'm ready to be fired now. Go ahead, be honest. Just let me know if I have to sign anything. Like, yes, I slept in the bathtub and won't sue the hotel." Arthur clasped his hands together and looked at her seriously. "I'm not going to fire you." She froze. "What? I'm about to make you an offer, but first I need to know, are you the kind of person who gets into trouble often?" "Trouble? Me? Of course not. I'm super professional, except yesterday, and that one time I dropped a jar of olives in the elevator. Oh, and the time when, Lucy?" "Sorry." Arthur leaned back. "Starting today, you're taking on a new role. I want you to be my personal assistant." Silence. Her brain just crashed. "You're what?" Personal assistant. I need someone to help me escape boring meetings, dull dinners, ridiculous social events. Basically, someone to get me out of awkward situations without making me look like an idiot. Lucy blinked. Slowly. Are you serious? Completely. But I'm a housekeeper. Not anymore. Now, you're my assistant if you want the job. I don't own business clothes. I don't speak CEO language. I say dude when I get nervous. Arthur raised a hand, stopping her panic spiral. You don't need to look like an executive. Just be yourself. That's what caught my attention. Your honesty, your spontaneity, and, of course, the audacity to fall asleep in my bathtub. Lucy stared at him like he had just offered her a job as an astronaut. Is this a prank? Are there hidden cameras? I have better things to do than play tricks on sleepwalking housekeepers. She laughed, nervously. And the salary? 3 times what you make now. Oh. She almost fainted, but covered it up with a cough. Give me 2 seconds. She pulled out her phone and typed, Carla, if I go missing, it was the CEO. But I'm going out in style. Then she looked at him. Deal. Arthur gave a slight nod, a small smile on his lips. Great, you start tomorrow. The launch event for the new spa will be a good test. Lucy stood up, still in shock. Okay, I'll, get ready. Find something appropriate to wear. Practice polite smiles in the mirror. And maybe sleep in an actual bed. Excellent idea. At the door, she paused, turned back, and asked, just out of curiosity, why me? Arthur thought for a moment. Because you're the only person in this hotel who's made me laugh in months, and I'd rather have someone who makes me laugh than someone who puts me to sleep with boredom. She smiled, walking out of the office almost floating. Okay, but just to be clear, the bathtub is still yours. Later, in the employee cafeteria, Carla, Lucy's chatty best friend, nearly choked when she heard the news. You're going to be the CEO's assistant? He's totally in love with you. I saw this in a movie. Oh, Carla, don't start. I can barely walk in heels, and tomorrow I have to smile and act normal. That's never going to happen, Carla said, already grabbing her phone. This is going viral. Lucy rested her forehead on her dinner tray. What have I done with my life? And yet, deep down she was excited. Very excited. The next morning, Lucy woke up with her heart racing, like she was about to run a marathon. In high heels. She looked at herself in the mirror and told herself, you will not faint. You will not trip. You will not mistake a waiter for an investor. And for the love of your reputation, you will not sleep in bathtubs today. She took a deep breath. She had been through a lot in life, but none of it involved heels, executive brunches, or words like networking. She put on the only business-appropriate outfit she could borrow from Carla, a baby pink blazer that made her look like a toddler lawyer. Her hair was pulled into an elegant bun, or at least that was the idea. In reality, it looked like a carefully arranged bird's nest. At the hotel, she went straight to Arthur's office. But before knocking, she checked her breath, straightened her posture, and practiced her professional yet approachable but slightly mysterious smile. What she didn't expect was to open the door and find Arthur standing there, wearing only dress pants, buttoning up his shirt. She froze. Oh my! She yelped, spinning around so fast she nearly broke her neck. Arthur, unfazed, calmly finished buttoning the last button, like this was just another day at the office. You're early, he said, as if standing half-dressed in his office was part of normal business protocol. I didn't know. There was no sign saying, in the middle of dressing. I'm new here. I didn't mean to see anything, I swear, she blurted out, eyes shut as if that would erase the memory. You can turn around now. I'm dressed. She turned back, face burning. This will not happen again, I swear. Unless you forget your shirt again, which I really hope doesn't happen. Arthur picked up an envelope from his desk and handed it to her. Today is the brunch for the spa launch. We need to talk to investors, VIP clients, and the press. Your job, get me out of awkward situations and keep me sane. Lucy took the envelope and let out a nervous laugh. And what if I'm the awkward situation? So it's going to be an authentic debut, he replied, with that little smirk that made people want to either laugh or punch him. A few minutes later, Lucy stepped into the event hall like someone invading a crystal castle. Everything was so bright. Huge chandeliers, crystal glasses, tables full of exotic fruits, and a violinist playing a slow tune that sounded straight out of an Oscar-winning movie. She felt a shiver run down her spine. Calm down, Lucy. Just smile, stay close to the boss, and don't break anything expensive, she whispered to herself. Arthur walked in right behind her, now in full CEO mode. Impeccable suit, neatly styled hair, neutral expression. Breathe, and remember, if I get cornered by someone annoying, you save me. Be creative. And if I get cornered, improvise. You're good at that. She laughed. Is that a compliment or a warning? Both. The first test came quickly. A German investor with a serious mustache and an accent straight out of an old movie. Mr. Garcia, we need to discuss the future of spa globalization, he began, grabbing Arthur by the arm. Arthur shot Lucy a quick look. Help, now. She stepped forward with an exaggerated smile and said, Excuse me, sir, but the chef urgently needs your opinion on the new cucumber and mint juice recipe. It's a disaster, a complete ice-cold catastrophe. Arthur masked his surprise, cleared his throat, and said, Yes, of course. Priorities. He walked away with Lucy, leaving the investor lost in the middle of the exotic fruit display. Cucumber and mint juice? It was the best I could come up with in 2 seconds. Worst excuse ever? Top 5, but effective. The second challenge came when a wealthy woman, wearing a pearl necklace bigger than Lucy's head, approached with a fake smile. Mr. Garcia, what a wonderful surprise. Do you still remember my daughter Clarice's wedding? Arthur gave a polite nod. From what Lucy gathered, Clarice was the ex-fiancée who had run off with her personal trainer. Lucy immediately sensed danger. This woman spoke like someone who enjoyed humiliating others in public. And you are? The woman asked, looking at Lucy as if she were a free sample in a jewelry store. Lucy stepped forward, extended her hand, and smiled. Mr. Garcia's personal nurse? I'm here to prevent nervous breakdowns caused by awkward conversations with former mothers-in-law. The woman blinked in shock for a second. Then she let out a stiff little laugh. Oh, how witty. I try. Life's too short to be unpleasant on purpose. Arthur coughed discreetly to hide his laughter. Come on, Lucy, we need to check the cheese table. As they walked away, he whispered, A nurse? Better than babysitter for a socially anxious millionaire. Effective. Again. I'm getting the hang of it. The afternoon continued with forced small talk, glasses of juice that probably cost as much as Lucy's rent, and conversations she barely understood. But little by little, she realized she was doing well. Better than she expected. She improvised, rescued Arthur from boring discussions, and even managed to make him smile, genuinely. Most importantly, she was actually having fun. Until the press conference started. Arthur stepped onto a small stage to welcome the guests. Lucy stood beside him, pretending to be just another assistant, not an ex-cleaning lady who once fell asleep in the bathtub of the man now running a hotel empire. Good afternoon, Arthur said into the microphone. It's a pleasure to have you all at this special event. Our new spa was designed to offer guests a luxurious and revitalizing experience. And I'd like to take a moment to thank the team, especially someone who recently surprised me in a rather unexpected way. Lucy froze. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lucy Ramirez, my new personal assistant. The audience clapped, some smiled, others whispered, and Lucy froze. Sensing the panic in her eyes, Arthur added, Before anyone starts making up stories, let me clarify. No, she wasn't hired because she slept in my bathtub, though she is the first person to do so and survive. Laughter. Lucy turned bright red but smiled. A genuine smile, the kind that comes from finally being seen and accepted. When the event ended, Arthur pulled her aside. Sorry for the surprise. I still don't know if I should punch you or hug you. Do both, just wait until after work. Lucy laughed, relieved. For the record, I'm actually enjoying this. Being my assistant, being more than just the person who cleans up after everyone. Arthur looked at her for a moment. Then he said, You are so much more than that, Lucy. She swallowed hard. Thank you, really. That night she got home, took off her pink blazer, threw herself onto the couch, and picked up her phone. A message from Arthur. Mission accomplished. More to come tomorrow. Well, and it promises to be even more fun. Lucy smiled. She was still holding her phone, reading the message for the third time. Mission accomplished. More to come tomorrow. And it promises to be even more fun. She dropped the phone on the couch and covered her face with her hands. I survived a press conference with CEOs, triple-digit sushi, and a public joke about my bathtub nap, and I still get a more to come tomorrow? For the first time, She didn't feel like just a spectator in her own life. She was inside the story, messy, improbable, but real. She stared at the ceiling as if it had an answer. "Lucy, dear, what have you gotten yourself into?" The next morning, she arrived at the hotel right at 8 o'clock. Nothing short of a miracle, considering the bus broke down. She almost lost a shoe at the curb, and someone in the elevator mistook her for a guest. She walked into Arthur's office with a slight smile, but he wasn't there. Instead, there was an envelope with her name written by hand. "Well, this doesn't look suspicious at all," she murmured, already opening it. Inside, a short note. "Today, I want you to see something with me. Dress comfortably. No heels or pink blazer, eh?" She frowned. "Comfortable? That sounds like a trap. And what do you mean, no pink blazer?" I was rocking that look, like a marshmallow at a condo meeting, but still. Even so, she rushed to change. She picked dark jeans, a simple white shirt, and sneakers. The survival trio for someone with no clue what's ahead. When she returned, she found Arthur waiting in the lobby, wearing a rolled-up sleeve shirt and a mysterious expression. "Good morning," he said, eyeing her outfit. "Much better. I feel like a spy with no mission." "Excellent, because that's exactly what you are today." She followed him to the car, filled with more questions than answers. "Are you going to tell me where we're going?" "No." "And I'm supposed to be okay with that?" "Yes." "All right then. If I disappear, tell my sister she can have my portable charger." Arthur chuckled. About 40 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a small old building with a simple facade. Nothing like the places Arthur usually went. "Where are we?" she asked as she stepped out. "Just come with me." She followed him to the 3rd floor, where he stopped in front of a gray door with peeling paint. "Do you recognize it?" She looked around and widened her eyes. "Wait. This is—" Arthur nodded. "This is where your sister takes her prep course." Lucy froze. "How do you know that?" "I have resources, and I listen carefully." Her heart pounded. "Did you interfere in my sister's life?" "No, I just paid attention and did what needed to be done." He handed her an envelope. Lucy opened it. It was a receipt for the full semester's tuition, under Emily Ramirez's name. Payment completed. Signature A. Garcia. She stared at him, stunned. You paid for my sister's course?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you worked twice as hard to give her what you never had. And that tells me everything I need to know about who you are." Lucy swallowed hard. "I didn't ask for this." "I know. That's why I did it." She leaned against the wall, trying to process it all. "This is big, Arthur. Really big. It's not charity, it's acknowledgement. But you barely know me. I know enough to know you're one of a kind." She lowered her head, fidgeting with her fingers. "When my mom got sick, I was just a teenager. I dropped out of school to take care of her. My dad had been gone for years. When she passed, it was just me and Emily. I worked every job I could find, cleaning, bakery counter, handing out flyers, and every cent I earned went to her. Because if she has a chance to be someone, then it was all worth it." Arthur was silent for a few moments. Then he took a step closer. "What was your dream?" Lucy smiled, but it was a sad smile. "To be a nurse. I always wanted to take care of people. Maybe because of my mom. I kept thinking, if I had known more, maybe I could have helped more. But life didn't let me. There's still time. Not for me." "Lucy, you take care of people every day. With humor, with kindness. You're already a nurse at heart. All that's missing is the diploma." She chuckled, her eyes misty. "If you say one more nice thing, I'll start crying right here. And I didn't bring tissues." "You can cry. But after that, we're getting a pastel." "A what?" "That's what you do after big emotions. You eat a pastel." She laughed louder. "Arthur Garcia, you are one unusual CEO. And you are one impossible assistant." After grabbing a quick bite at a small diner, Lucy felt lighter. For the first time in years, she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her own. But the day still had a surprise in store. When they returned to the hotel, Arthur got an urgent call and had to head upstairs for a video conference. He asked her to wait in the lobby, just for half an hour. Lucy sat there, watching the guests come and go, the expensive luggage, the conversations in different languages. It was a whole different world. And then, without meaning to, she heard her name. Lucy Ramirez? The girl he introduced at the press conference? It was the voice of one of the receptionists, the blonde with pin-straight hair, a sharp smile, and a not-so-friendly gaze. "Ashley." They say she used to work in housekeeping, slept in the CEO's bathtub, and now she's his personal assistant. I'd call that a lucky break with a little bit of flirting, Ashley said, dripping with sarcasm. The other employee, Madison, chuckled. Seriously? This sounds like a streaming show. Lucy took a deep breath, stood up, and walked toward them. Hey ladies, everything okay? Ashley turned pale. Oh hi Lucy, I didn't realize you were so close. Very close, like spy mode close. Ashley scrambled to recover. Look, it wasn't personal, we were just… talking about me like I'm some tabloid story? Madison opened her mouth, then closed it again. Nothing came out. Lucy smiled. Relax, I've heard worse. Someone once said I used disinfectant as perfume. The two of them let out nervous laughs. Lucy leaned in slightly. But just as a friendly tip, don't underestimate me. Life has a funny way of turning tables, and I tend to be in the wrong place at the right time. She gave them a wink, turned around, and walked away. By the time she reached the office, Arthur was still on the phone, but he noticed her out of the corner of his eye and wrapped up quickly. Everything okay? Gossip, judgmental stares, and a touch of sarcasm. The fame package. Want to switch jobs? And give up my chance to keep annoying you with random comments? Never. Arthur chuckled. Tomorrow, we have a dinner with sponsors. Are you coming? If they serve pastries as appetizers, maybe. There will be wine. You've convinced me. That night, Lucy lay in bed with her mind racing. It wasn't just about the new job. It was about being seen, being recognized, being respected. She stared at the ceiling and thought, maybe I don't have to be a nurse to take care of people. Maybe I'm already doing it in my own way. And she smiled, because even without a degree, she was changing lives, including her own. Lucy stared at her reflection in the hotel's restroom mirror, as if she were facing a jury. You just need to look professional, confident. Hide the nerves, and don't mistake white wine for coconut water this time, she told herself. Tonight's sponsor dinner was her second big event. The first had been a mix of chaos and charm, cucumber juice, sarcastic socialites, and an unexpected press conference. But now this was a whole different level. Arthur had said, tonight you'll meet the heart of our empire. The sponsors are demanding, influential, and incredibly boring. That's why I need you. So here she was, in a borrowed burgundy dress, this time from her upstairs neighbor, her hair in a decent bun, and a tiny clutch that held exactly three things: her phone, lipstick, and dignity, though there was plenty of room left for the last one. As she left the restroom and walked toward the private dining room, she felt her heels wobble. But her stride was steady, her expression perfectly rehearsed. I'm amazing, and I'm totally not faking it. Arthur was waiting near the entrance. Dark gray suit, neatly trimmed stubble, and that effortless air of someone who was born wealthy. When he saw her, he paused for a second. You look elegant, professional, impressive, different. Lucy raised an eyebrow. Was that a compliment? I'm still deciding. She smirked. I'm ready. What's the plan? Survive the sponsors, avoid awkward questions, and if possible, escape before dessert. I've had a ginger mousse trauma since last year's dinner. Got it. And if someone starts telling a bad joke? You say there's an emergency and get me out. Can I say you have an allergy to small talk? Brilliant. Use that. The dining hall was a sea of white linen, candlelight, fine glassware, and polite but fake smiles. Lucy recognized several faces from magazines and social media, business moguls, models, investors. They all seemed to know Arthur. And they were all staring at her. The whispers started quietly. Is that the new assistant? Is she the one from the press conference? I heard she was a cleaner. Now she's with the boss. Lucy took a deep breath, kept her posture straight, her smile in place, and her head held high. Or at least, mostly. Remember, she whispered to herself, you're not here because you fell asleep in the bathtub. You're here because you woke up wanting to change your life. And because fate has a sense of humor. Arthur led her to the main table where three important sponsors were waiting. Mr. Collins, an older man with thick glasses and a deep voice. Mrs. Bennett, an elegant woman who spoke as if she were always bored. And Derek Stone, the kind of guy who smiled too much and shook hands like he was trying to crush bones. Good evening, Arthur said, his charm well rehearsed. Good evening, Mr. Garcia. And Mrs. Bennett looked at Lucy. This is Lucy Ramirez, my personal assistant, Arthur replied before she could open her mouth. Lucy extended a firm handshake. Nice to meet you. And just to be clear, I'm not a nurse, a nutritionist, a relative, or a fictional character. A few quiet chuckles around the table. Arthur seemed pleased. The dinner continued with sophisticated appetizers and conversations about numbers, projections, investments, and, to Lucy's absolute boredom, Slovenian artisanal wine prices. Still, she carried out her mission flawlessly. She smiled, asked smart questions when needed, kept Arthur from getting trapped in endless debates, and even discreetly suggested that the waiter remove the scallop dish before someone could comment that it was a little overcooked. "I don't know how I survived these events without you," Arthur murmured, leaning toward her. "Probably more bored and more bad-tempered." "True. But with less public embarrassment." "Also true." Everything was going smoothly. Until she showed up. Madeline. A tight black dress, stiletto heels, red hair cascading in waves, and a perfume that announced her presence before she even arrived. Lucy saw her first, and her immediate instinct was to turn her back and pretend she urgently needed to leave the country. But it was too late. "Arthur," Madeline said, her smile sharp. Arthur turned, and the slight smile on his face vanished. "Madeline." Lucy straightened in her chair. "I didn't know you'd be here," Madeline said, looking Lucy up and down. "And you brought company?" Arthur took a deep breath. "Madeline, this is Lucy Ramirez, my assistant." "Ah, of course," the redhead replied, extending her cold fingers. "Assistant." Lucy shook her hand firmly. "That's right, not to be confused with decorative," Madeline smiled. "Of course, it's always nice to see new hires with multiple skills." Lucy kept smiling, but inside she was screaming, "Hold me back or I'll bite her." "And you?" she asked. "Still in the business of scheming, or did you change careers?" Arthur cleared his throat. "Ladies?" "Sorry," Lucy said, "just trying to learn how to behave among the big fish." "Some fish have thorns," Madeline replied, still smiling. "And some just swim in circles," Lucy shot back, taking a sip of wine. The air was now as tense as the strap on her brand-new heels. Madeline left with class and venom. "It was a pleasure. Good luck, dear." Lucy responded with an ironic wave. "You too. Always nice to see characters come to life." As Madeline walked away, Arthur looked at Lucy, unable to hide his amusement. "You just won the sharpest comeback contest at a gala dinner." Was that a compliment? It was almost a marriage proposal. Lucy laughed, but her expression quickly grew serious. "You were something with her, weren't you?" Arthur hesitated for a second. "We had a brief relationship, before the hotel expanded, before everything. And now she represents competing investors, and loves showing up at my events. Especially when she knows I'm doing well." Lucy nodded, looking away. "Just wanted to know where I stand, so I don't slip into an emotional bathtub again." "Lucy, it's fine. You don't have to explain. I'm just the assistant, remember?" Arthur gently held her arm. "You are much more than that, and if you haven't realized it yet, you will soon." Lucy swallowed hard and took a deep breath. "Okay, but if I become a meme tomorrow, will you help me deal with it?" "I'll pay to shut down the internet in the whole country." She laughed, feeling lighter. When the dinner ended, Lucy walked down the hotel hallway, heels in hand and soul exhausted. Arthur walked beside her, hands in his pockets. "You know, you surprise me more than anyone I've ever worked with," he said. "That's because you've never had an intern with OCD and a talent for beatboxing," she replied. Arthur stopped. "Thank you for tonight, for keeping you in check, or for not stabbing Madeline with a fork." "Both." She smiled, but something unspoken lingered in the air. "Do you still think about her?" she asked quietly. "Not like before. Madeline is the kind of person who likes to win, and she doesn't care who she steps on in the process." "And me?" Arthur took a step closer. "You're the kind of person who lifts people up, even when you're on your knees yourself." Lucy fell silent. Was that a compliment? It was almost another marriage proposal. She smiled, and this time she didn't even try to hide it. That night, already home, lying on her bed with her dress still halfway on, Lucy stared at the ceiling once again. But this time her thoughts were different. She was starting to feel something. Something more than admiration, more than respect. Something that could either complicate everything or change everything. And for the first time she wasn't afraid of it, just curious, and feeling a pleasant flutter in her stomach. Lucy's phone buzzed nonstop. Still lying down, she lazily reached for it on her nightstand and squinted at the screen. Lots of messages. Group chats, notifications. One of them was from Carla. "Girl, have you seen what they're saying about you?" Lucy frowned, still trying to wake up. This never starts well. She opened the group chat. "United Cleaners will never be defeated," and saw the screenshot. It was a headline from a gossip page with nearly 300,000 followers. "Housekeeper becomes CEO's assistant after falling asleep in presidential suite. Sources say, romance on the way?" The photo was a terrible montage of her holding a wine glass next to Arthur taken at some event. An arrow pointed to his slightly inclined arm with the caption, "Suspicious touch?" "Oh my God!" Lucy shouted, sitting up as if the mattress had turned into a hot plate. Notifications kept coming. "Is it true that you and Mr. Garcia? Girl, you're everywhere. Even in the laundry group. I'm rooting for you. Way to go, boss." Lucy ran her hands over her face. "Okay, stay calm. It's probably just a silly article. It'll blow over. People forget these things in 2 days." But she knew it wouldn't be that simple. At the hotel, the atmosphere was strange. Employees whispered in the hallways. Some greeted her with curious looks, while others avoided eye contact. In the staff break room, there was only one topic: Lucy. She walked past, pretending not to hear. When she arrived at the office, Arthur was already waiting. Wearing a suit, seated at his desk, phone in hand, his expression serious. As soon as he saw her, he set the phone aside. "Good morning." "Good morning," she replied with a half smile. "So you saw it?" "I did." Silence. "And?" she asked. "I'm handling it." "Are you suing someone?" "I already spoke with legal. We'll find out who leaked the photo and who made up the story." "But Arthur, it's not exactly a lie. I really did fall asleep in the bathtub." "You fell asleep from exhaustion, not to seduce anyone, and you became my assistant because you're talented, not for ridiculous reasons." She took a deep breath and sat down. "I just don't want to be a joke. Not for my sister, not for myself." Arthur looked directly at her. "I didn't want that either, and you won't be, I promise." A few hours later, the rumor had spread to the hotel lobby. A couple of guests whispered about it while waiting for the elevator. "It's her, right? The bathtub girl?" "Looks like it. And now she's his assistant. Quick, huh?" Lucy pretended not to hear, pressing the elevator buttons like she was trying to launch a rocket. She spent the whole afternoon avoiding eye contact, ignoring stares, and trying to focus on work. But it felt like swimming against the tide. At lunchtime, she sat at a table in the corner. When Emma, one of the laundry staff, approached, Lucy thought, "Here we go. Mind if I sit?" "Of course not." Emma sat down, hesitantly. "Look, I just wanted to say, you don't have to feel bad, okay? Some people only talk because they wish they were in your place." Lucy sighed. "Thanks, Emma, but it's not as easy as it looks." "I know. But listen, my sister is a waitress at a smaller hotel, and when she heard about this, she said, finally, someone like us ended up where they never let us be. So thank you." Lucy felt a lump in her throat. "Wow, that was unexpected." Emma gave her a warm smile. "We're rooting for you." But not everyone was. At the front desk, Ashley, with her flawless hair and snake-in-heels attitude, was furiously typing on her phone while glancing toward Lucy. "I bet this will end in either a firing or a promotion if she keeps smiling at him like that." Madison rolled her eyes. "You're just jealous because Arthur never even asked you to bring him coffee. I don't need to get attention by falling asleep in bathtubs, and you never will, because he likes real people, not high-heeled robots." Ashley's face soured. "This is going to blow up, and when it does, let's see who cleans up the mess." And it did. By late afternoon, Lucy got a message from Arthur. "I need to see you. Conference room 2, now." She stood up immediately, her stomach twisting. When she entered the room, she found Arthur and the hotel's legal advisor, Brian Hamilton, a bald man with thin glasses and a permanently worried expression. "Miss Ramirez," Brian said politely, "we have a problem." "Just one?" Arthur handed her a tablet with a new headline. "Scandal at the hotel. CEO favors employee he's in a relationship with." "Oh no," Lucy murmured. "They're saying you are only promoted because of my personal interest and that it compromises internal decisions." "That's ridiculous." "I know, but that's not what the sponsors are saying." Lucy's eyes widened. "The sponsors?" Arthur nodded. "Some are demanding a statement from me. Others are threatening to pull their support if I don't take action." "What kind of action?" Brian answered. "The most recommended course would be for Miss Ramirez to take a temporary leave. until the situation is cleared up. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine. You want to remove me? Arthur stepped forward. That's not what I want, but it's what they expect. And if I push back now, I could lose contracts, partnerships, years of support. Lucy stayed silent. So that's it? I go back to cleaning? No, Arthur said firmly. If you want, you can take a few days. Go home. Take a break, but your position is secure. With me. Lucy looked at him. His eyes were intense, but the pain was real. I need to think. She walked out without another word. In the locker room, Carla showed up out of nowhere. Hey girl. Carla? How did you get in here? I have my ways. The morning shift receptionist owes me a favor since I covered for her once. Lucy hugged her. For the first time that day, she let herself break a little. I'm being swallowed up by gossip. That's because you're shining too bright, and people who live in the dark can't handle that kind of light. Carla, I'm an assistant, not some symbol of resilience. Oh, but you are. You know why? Because even when you were scared, you stayed. Even when you felt ashamed, you held your head high, and even while being judged, you never changed who you are. Lucy smiled, touched. That was beautiful, almost poetic. I wrote it on the back of a cookie package yesterday. That night, Lucy was ready to leave when she found Arthur in the lobby. He was alone, hands in his pockets. Going home? He asked. Yeah, I'm done for today. Do you need a ride? No. Silence. Lucy, I'm sorry. She looked at him. You're not the one who should be apologizing. The world should, but it won't, will it? Unfortunately, no. So we learn to walk with our heads up anyway. Arthur nodded. I'll fix this mess. I promise. She gave a small smile. This time let me clean it up. On the bus ride home, Lucy stared out the window. The city looked huge, but for the first time she didn't feel small. Just in progress. And despite everything, she knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something stronger, harder, more real, and she was ready. The next morning arrived before Lucy could get any sleep. She had spent the whole night tossing and turning, her face buried in the pillow, thoughts screaming over each other. You've become a joke. No matter what you do, they'll always think you don't belong. Maybe it's better to disappear before it gets worse. When the alarm went off at 6, Lucy wanted to throw it out the window. Instead, she just slapped it hard and sat up, her hair looking like a modern sculpture of stress. Good morning, public humiliation. Let's shine. She got dressed in silence. Jeans, a simple black t-shirt, comfortable sneakers. Today, she didn't want to look like an assistant or a professional. She just wanted to be invisible. But that was becoming more impossible by the day. When she arrived at the hotel, she noticed the stares were even stronger. Some employees greeted her with those awkward smiles, the kind that said, I'm on your side, but I also want to hear all the gossip. Others didn't even try to hide the judgment in their eyes. She ignored them. The elevator took longer than usual. Inside, she found Ashley and Madison. So, you came back, Ashley said, her voice as sweet as pure lemon. Lucy just stared at the button for the 10th floor. After everything that happened, I thought you'd take a forced vacation, Ashley added with a little laugh. I'm still here, Ashley. But if you'd like, I can arrange a forced vacation for you if you keep talking in that horror movie voice. Madison choked, trying not to laugh. Ashley huffed. The elevator doors opened. Lucy stepped out first, head held high. But inside, the anxiety was eating her alive. Arthur wasn't in his office when she arrived. There was only a note on the desk. Today, we have a meeting with all managers and internal sponsors. Press conference at 5 p.m. Meet me in the main hall. Lucy sat in his chair and spun it slowly, staring at the ceiling. A press conference? Again? What's next? A reality show? She sighed, closed her eyes for a moment, and tried to breathe deeply. But that feeling of not belonging was coming back full force. In the middle of the afternoon, Lucy decided to do something she had been avoiding for weeks, visiting the floor where the cleaning staff still worked. She went up and found Emma, the laundry girl, neatly folding sheets. Lucy, Emma said, surprised. Wow, I thought you had forgotten about us. Me? Never. I just got caught up in a whirlwind of sushi, high heels, and gossip. Emma laughed. So, how are you? Not great. Feels like every time I try to fit in, the world says, no thanks. Emma paused for a moment and then said, we're all rooting for you, you know. Because if you make it, it feels like everyone who scrubs bathrooms, folds laundry, and works behind the scenes can make it too. Lucy swallowed hard. Thank you. Really. Don't let those spoiled people break you, Lucy. They have no idea how strong you are. She smiled, but deep down she knew that sometimes even she didn't realize her own strength. At exactly 5 p.m., Lucy walked into the main hall. There was a small stage with microphones, rows of chairs, and a filming crew from the hotel. Arthur was already there, talking to the marketing director, Jason Miller, and the legal advisor, Brian Hamilton. When he saw Lucy, Arthur immediately walked over. I'm glad you came. I still don't understand what this is. You will. He pointed to the front row and asked her to sit there. She eyed him suspiciously. Arthur, what are you up to? Just trust me. She sat down, but her heartbeat was so loud it felt like it echoed through the room. Minutes later, the guests started arriving. Managers, sponsors, shareholders, and a few familiar faces from high society. And of course, Madeline. She wore a white blazer and high heels, clearly aware she would be noticed. She walked past Lucy without saying a word but flashed that smirk that said, "You're going to fall, you just don't know when." Lucy pretended not to notice. Arthur stepped onto the stage, took the microphone, and took a deep breath. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming on such short notice. This emergency meeting was called for one reason only, to put an end, once and for all, to the rumors surrounding my personal assistant, Lucy Ramirez. Lucy froze in her chair. A murmur spread through the room. Arthur continued. In the past 48 hours, there has been speculation online that Miss Ramirez was promoted for personal reasons, based on assumptions, lies, and a single photo taken out of context. More murmuring. Some laughter. So let me be clear. Lucy Ramirez is my assistant because she is the most qualified person for the job. And no, this has absolutely nothing to do with favors, romantic interest, or any other kind of relationship. Lucy's eyes widened. What? Arthur went on. If anyone here believes that a person's competence is measured by where they come from rather than the quality of their work, you're in the wrong place. Some of the audience murmured in agreement. Others remained silent. Lucy started at this hotel cleaning bathrooms. She once fell asleep in a bathtub after a 15-hour shift, and even then, when she woke up, she apologized and went right back to work. Since then, she has pulled me out of embarrassing situations, stood up to powerful people, and done more for this hotel than some who have been here for years. Jason, the marketing director, nodded subtly. Arthur finished. I'm not letting her go, I'm not apologizing, and if anyone wants to reconsider their partnership with this hotel because of that, the door's open. Silence. Then, from the back of the room, a male voice spoke up. I support Miss Ramirez staying. It was Mr. Bennett, one of the hotel's longtime sponsors. Soon, others started murmuring their agreement. Emma, who had been sitting quietly in the back, cheered. That's right. Lucy looked at Arthur, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or run up and hug him in front of everyone. Arthur looked straight at her, without a microphone, and simply said, Thank you for not giving up. She nodded and smiled. A smile full of everything, gratitude, relief, and something more. Something that grew every time he did what no one else had ever done for her. Defend her. At the end of the event, as the hall was emptying out, Lucy walked up to him. You're crazy. I've been told that before. You just picked a huge fight for me. No, with you, not for you. She crossed her arms. You do know this will have consequences, right? I'm used to those. Silence. Lucy took a deep breath. Thank you. Arthur stepped closer. Do you understand now why I insisted on keeping you here? Yes, but it still feels surreal. Good, let it stay that way. Oh, and just so you know, she added, Madeline nearly exploded with rage while you were speaking. Arthur smirked. That was just a bonus. That night, Lucy went home with her head in the clouds. When she arrived, she found her sister Emily studying in the living room. Hey, Lucy said, taking off her shoes. How was your class? Tiring, but good. My biology teacher is crazy. He said he's going to teach genetics using playing cards. That's innovative. And you, how was your day? Lucy smiled. The best and the craziest, but the best. Emily watched her for a few seconds. You like him, don't you? Lucy's eyes widened. Who? Your boss. Me? Arthur? No way, he's annoying and bossy, and sometimes it feels like he can read my mind. So that's a yes? Lucy sighed. Maybe, but he's my boss and that world isn't mine. Not yet. Lucy smiled, thoughtful. Not yet. That night, before falling asleep, Lucy got a message. "Arthur, you're amazing. Thank you for staying." She replied, "If you keep complimenting me like this, I'm going to start charging emotional overtime. I pay in compliments and coffee. Tomorrow, 8 a.m.? I'll be there, ready for another elegant scandal." And just like that, she fell asleep with a smile on her face, because now she knew, no matter what people said, she belonged, and no one was going to take that away from her. Lucy sat at Arthur's office desk, holding a cup of coffee that was still warm but had already lost half its flavor. Or maybe it was just her brain struggling to process everything that had happened in the past few days. She stared at the computer screen, where an email titled "Executive Presentation, New Spa Complex Launch" blinked, waiting to be finished. But her mind was miles away. "You're amazing. Thank you for staying." Arthur's message from the night before kept replaying in her head. It wasn't about the words. It was the way he spoke, the way he wrote, the way he looked at her, as if he had seen parts of her that even she had forgotten existed. She let out a sigh and slowly spun in the swivel chair. That's when Arthur walked in. His dress shirt sleeves were rolled up to his forearms, his hair was slightly tousled, and he had a phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, Jason, no problem. I'll call you as soon as the layout is finalized," he said before hanging up and turning to her. "Good morning." Lucy raised her cup and nodded. So. Didn't sleep well? I slept under the weight of 1,000 judgmental stares. But other than that, all good. Arthur pulled out a chair and sat across from her, watching her closely. "You're still thinking about what happened?" "No, now I'm thinking about what will happen when I mess up again. Because with my luck, I'll probably slip on a polished floor, on live television." He chuckled. "You handled everything better than a lot of people who have worked with me for years. You say that because you've never seen me cry over a documentary about an abandoned penguin." Arthur leaned forward, resting his arms on the desk. "Lucy, can I ask you something?" "Sure. But if it's about what happened yesterday, I'll only answer if it comes with a scoop of ice cream. It's about you." She raised an eyebrow. "Me? What do you want?" Lucy blinked. "Huh? What do you mean? In life, in your future, what do you want, besides surviving the corporate world and avoiding becoming an internet meme?" She was silent for a few seconds. "I want my sister to go to college. I want her to never have to work 14-hour shifts just to pay rent. I want her to have a good bed, a good life, and never have to scrub rich people's sinks with steel wool." Arthur nodded with a small smile. "And you?" She hesitated. "I'd like to study, maybe nursing. Medicine is too far out of reach, but taking care of people, I've always liked that, but I don't know if it's too late." "It's never too late." Lucy looked away. "Easy for you to say when you have an empire at your fingertips." Arthur was silent for a moment. Then he stood up. "Come with me." "What? Now?" "Arthur, I'm wearing sneakers and a coffee-stained shirt. This feels like the start of an emotional kidnapping. Trust me." Minutes later, they were in the hotel parking lot, and Arthur unlocked a car different from the one he usually used, a regular black sedan. "No driver today. Just us," he said. Lucy got in, still skeptical. "If we end up in an open field with horses and romantic music, I swear I'm running away." Arthur laughed. "Relax. Nothing that cheesy." "Good, because I didn't bring bug spray." They drove for a few blocks until they stopped in front of a modest-looking building with a glass facade and signs still being installed. Lucy read, "Project Vita Community Support Center." She looked at Arthur, confused. "What is this?" "Come in." She followed him. Inside, there were spacious rooms, some still under renovation, with furniture being assembled, boxes of school supplies, brand new computers, and a small library in the process of being organized. "This is my new project," Arthur explained. "A support center for families in vulnerable situations. Classes, medical support, workshops, a community dining hall." Lucy looked around in silence, taking in every detail. "And what does this have to do with me?" Arthur stopped in front of one of the rooms, where a plaque was waiting to be mounted. "Lucy Ramirez Room, Training in Dreams." She froze. You're joking, right? This room will offer scholarships and basic training for young adults who want a second chance. And it's named after you. Because you inspired it." Lucy covered her mouth, her eyes welling up. "Arthur, I got the idea after our conversation about nursing. You said you wished you could have helped your mom more. And I thought, Maybe you still can, starting here. She took a deep breath. This is too big. It's the least you deserve. They stood in silence, the kind that doesn't feel heavy but fills the space, a silence that said everything. Arthur looked into her eyes. You changed me, Lucy, ever since that day in the bathtub. She let out a nervous laugh. I still think I should have been fired on the spot. Good thing you weren't. She took a step closer. Arthur. If you kiss me now, it's your fault. He smirked. And if I say it's your fault, then I'll accept it, because I want to, too. And then, without another word, he gently pulled her in by the waist and kissed her. It was soft, unhurried, but full of everything they had been holding back for too long. The doubts, the jokes, the looks, the silences. It all fell into place in that moment. When they pulled away, she kept her eyes closed for a second. Okay, that was unexpectedly good. Better than a pastry? Almost. They both laughed. Well, now we have a problem, Lucy said. Why? Because now I'm going to have to kiss you again someday. Let's put it on the calendar. Schedule it after my next existential crisis. Already reserved. Back at the hotel, Lucy's mind was still spinning. The kiss, the community center, the room with her name on it. It was all too much. And yet, it felt right. But of course, the universe never lets things stay calm for long. She was in the elevator when she ran into Madeline. Of course. Well, if it isn't the celebrity of the week, Madeline said, stepping into the elevator with a smug smile. Lucy kept her expression neutral. Madeline, what an almost sincere pleasure. I hear Arthur has a new hobby, building shelters and handing out kisses. And I hear you've been trying to understand the concept of humility. How's that going? Madeline laughed. You know this won't last, right? The elevator? I hope so. We still have 4 more floors. No, your story. This, you and him, it's not real. Just charity disguised as romance. Lucy took a deep breath. You know what the difference between us is? Oh, I can't wait to hear. You want to win. I just want to live. The elevator arrived. Lucy stepped out first. Good luck with that, Madeline. You'll need it more. But Lucy didn't look back, because for the first time she wasn't afraid anymore. That night, at home, Emily was waiting for her with the table set. I made frozen lasagna, nothing more gourmet than that. I kissed Arthur. Emily nearly dropped her fork. You did what? It was spontaneous and intense, but beautiful. Oh my God, is this serious? Lucy sat down, smiling. I think so. And now? Lucy looked up at the ceiling, thoughtful. Now I figure out what it's like to experience something I never thought I could, Emily smiled. And here I was thinking my test score was the big news of the day. They both laughed, and Lucy knew something was really changing. Not outside, but inside. The morning after the kiss, Lucy woke up with her heart racing and a silly smile stuck on her face. A smile she tried to hide, failed, tried again, and failed again. Okay, Ramirez, she said to the mirror. You kissed your boss, a billionaire CEO. Now what? Sing in the hallway? Make a declaration over breakfast? Live out a Taylor Swift music video? She fanned herself with the lid of her hairbrush and laughed alone. But soon the nervousness crept in. What if it had just been a moment? A whim? What if Arthur woke up today and simply regretted it? Taking a deep breath, she dressed as neutrally as possible. No bold lipstick, no sweet perfume. Today's plan, casual, controlled, composed. Or at least pretend to be. When she arrived at the hotel, everything seemed normal. People in the lobby, coffee being served, conversations about reservations and checkouts. But when Lucy stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the 10th floor, she felt her heart race. She didn't know how to face Arthur after the night before. But he wasn't in the office, or anywhere. Strange. She checked her phone. No messages, no calls. Maybe he was in a meeting, or running away to Alaska. Around 10 a.m., Lucy went to the hotel restaurant to take care of something with the manager. As she passed through the main hall, she noticed the team setting up for next week's event. That's when she heard 2 familiar voices, Arthur and Madeline. Behind a wooden partition, they stood facing each other, speaking in low but intense tones. Arthur, you're losing yourself, Madeline said. This is none of your business, he replied, visibly irritated. Are you in love with her? With an employee? With someone who will never understand this world? Don't you dare talk about her like that. I'm just saying what everyone already thinks. You may be brilliant in business, but when it comes to the heart, you've always had terrible taste. Silence. Lucy is different. And I don't owe you an explanation. Lucy felt her stomach sink. She instinctively took a step back, accidentally bumping into a decorative column, which wobbled slightly. Arthur stopped talking. Both turned toward the sound. Lucy quickly turned away and left before they could see her. Or at least, she wanted to believe they hadn't. Back in the office, she sat at her desk, staring at the computer, but she didn't type a single word. Her mind was spinning. Are you in love with her? That question kept replaying over and over. But more than the words, it was the tone, the context, the doubt. Someone who will never understand this world. The pain didn't come from what Madeline had said, but from the fact that Arthur hadn't denied it. What if it was true? What if, no matter how hard he tried, they really were from two different worlds? She tried to focus on the report. She reviewed the numbers 3 times, but nothing made sense. So she stood up, grabbed her bag, and headed to the cafe across the street. She needed air. Arthur didn't show up at the office until afternoon. He immediately looked for Lucy, but all he found was her bag on the chair and an abandoned coffee cup. He checked his phone. No messages from her. A strange unease settled in, as if something was out of place. He picked up his phone and called. Lucy? Hi, she answered, her voice low. Where are you? Getting some air. Are you okay? I'm alive. That's a good start. Silence. Can we talk? Not now. And she hung up. Arthur stared at his phone for a few seconds. He knew. She had heard everything. That night, Lucy got home exhausted, but not physically. It was a deep, emotional exhaustion, as if she had run a marathon inside her own mind. Emily was on the couch, watching a movie. Hey, I got pizza. Your favorite, pepperoni with a cheese crust. Lucy forced a smile. Thanks. Emily studied her sister's face. Did something happen? Just a weird day. Weird like I spilled coffee on the CEO, or I'm in love and don't know if I'm enough? Lucy blinked. Are you reading my mind now? Emily grabbed a slice of pizza. I'm your sister. I have a poetic license to guess when you're internally freaking out. Lucy sat next to her. I heard Arthur arguing with that Madeline woman today. She basically said he was losing himself because of me. And he didn't deny it. Emily chewed slowly. But he didn't agree either, did he? Not in words. And what does your heart say? That maybe she's right, that this world isn't for me? Emily turned and looked at her firmly. Lucy, you got here on your own. You made this guy care. You made an entire hotel stop to listen to you. Don't shrink yourself because of bitter people. Lucy let out a deep sigh. What if I step back a little, just to think? If it's for you, that's fine. But if it's out of fear, it's not worth it. Across the city, Arthur stood on the hotel terrace, looking at the city lights. A glass of wine in his hand, he replayed every word from that morning in his mind. Every reaction from Lucy, every expression she tried to hide. He knew he had stepped into dangerous territory. He knew that, for someone like her, every step in this world felt heavy. But he didn't want her to take that step alone. He picked up his phone. Typed, deleted, typed again. Arthur, I wish I could go back to last night. Not to change the kiss, just to tell you how much it meant. He waited. No reply. Let's play a little game for those who only read the comments. Type ice cream in the comments. Only those who made it this far will understand. Now let's get back to the story. The next morning, Lucy arrived at the hotel early. She avoided the employee elevator and took the stairs. Avoided the cafe. Avoided the stairs. She was determined to be professional, cold, focused. When she entered the office, Arthur was already there, standing by the window. She walked in, her heart beating in sync with the sound of her heels on the marble floor. Good morning, she said with a light, neutral smile. Good morning. Silence. We have a meeting with the marketing team at 10. It's already on the schedule. Silence again. About yesterday. No need, she said too quickly. It's over. Not for me. She finally looked at him. Arthur, this world, it scares me. Not because of the people, but because it has rules I never learned, and because sometimes I feel like I'm just a temporary piece in a game I was never invited to play. He stepped closer. You're not a piece, and you're not temporary. Then what am I? Arthur hesitated. Someone who makes me want to change the whole game. Lucy felt the ground shift beneath her feet. You know this could end badly, right? Everything worthwhile is a little scary. She took a deep breath. Then give me some time. As much as you need. Thank you. She turned to go to her desk, but before leaving she stopped at the door. "And just so you know, the kiss is still the best thing I've ever tasted." Arthur smiled. "Good, because I still want to try dessert." She shook her head, unable to hold back a laugh. And in that moment, she realized their silence wasn't an ending, just a pause. Before the next step. Lucy was finishing up a spreadsheet on her computer when Arthur appeared at the office door with 2 cups of coffee. He walked in slowly, as if he knew he was stepping into sensitive territory. "Truce?" he asked, holding out one of the cups. She hesitated for a second before taking it. "Apology coffee?" "New beginnings coffee." Lucy took a sip. Strong. Hot. Exactly what she needed at that moment. "I thought you were going to disappear," he said. "I thought about it, but then I remembered Emily still doesn't know how to use the microwave properly." Arthur chuckled, relieved to see her joking again. "And also," Lucy added, "it would be pretty cowardly to walk away now, after everything." "You're many things, Lucy Ramirez, but a coward is definitely not one of them." She looked at him, serious. "And you? Do you still think you can balance 2 worlds that don't mix?" "I don't want to balance them. I want to transform them." "That sounds nice, but in practice, I want you to come with me." "Where?" Arthur pulled an envelope from the inside pocket of his blazer and placed it on the desk. Lucy opened it. Inside were 2 plane tickets. "Paris? International Food Event. Project Vita has been nominated for a Social Impact Award, and I want you to present it with the team." Her eyes widened. "Me? Present? In Paris? You know every detail. You were the one who inspired the idea. And besides, there are still too many people who need to see what a former janitor can do." Lucy ran her fingers over the envelope carefully, as if it were made of glass. "And what do you expect to happen there?" "I expect you to be proud of who you've become. And I expect the world to see what I've seen since the day you woke me up snoring in a bathtub." Lucy laughed, surprised at how possible it all seemed now. "And us?" she asked, her voice softer. Arthur stepped closer. "We go together, one step at a time. No pressure, no labels, just whatever is real." She bit her lip, thinking, "Okay, but only because I've always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower up close, and maybe you up close too. Then it's a deal." She smiled. "Paris, me, you, an international event. What could go wrong?" Arthur raised an eyebrow. "Lucy, all right, don't finish that sentence. I've learned that asking that question is basically a curse." That night, Lucy walked home with a quiet smile on her face. A light breeze played with her hair, and for the first time in a long time, the world felt light. When she arrived, Emily was waiting with a tub of ice cream and a look that demanded answers. "Talk, now." "Paris. What?" "Arthur wants to take me to Paris, an event, presenting Project Vita." "I knew it," Emily shouted. "This is a movie, Lucy. You're living a movie. Calm down, there are still 2 chapters left for everything to go wrong." Emily laughed. "And are you going?" Lucy sighed. "I am. And not just for him, but for me, for Mom, for you, for everything I never thought was possible." Emily hugged her tightly. "Go and make it count." Lucy closed her eyes. She was ready. Or almost. But with Arthur by her side, maybe she didn't need to be completely ready. She just needed to go. Lucy looked out the car window as they drove through the cobblestone streets, passing charming cafes, old facades, and the golden glow of the Eiffel Tower in the distance. It felt like being inside a movie. Except this time, she was the main character. "You're very quiet," Arthur said beside her. "I'm just trying to understand how the girl who was cleaning bathrooms last week is now in Paris to present a project." "That girl always had this potential. She just needed the right space to show it." Lucy smiled. "Careful, you're starting to sound romantic." "A little romance never hurt anyone," he replied, his gaze making her heart race. They arrived at the boutique hotel where they would be staying. It was small, elegant, and cozy. 2 rooms reserved, because Arthur knew how to respect her boundaries. And Lucy, she was grateful for that. After settling in, Lucy went straight to the balcony. The view was breathtaking. The city was alive, and for a moment, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. That evening, the opening dinner brought together important names from the worlds of gastronomy, philanthropy, and European media. Lucy wore a simple but elegant black dress, her hair in a loose bun. She looked around, trying to appear confident, even as her hands grew clammy. Arthur approached. "Ready?" "More or less. I'm trying to pretend this is normal." The only unusual thing here is the price of this sparkling water. Relax. You just need to be yourself. She laughed. That usually gets me into trouble. Only when you invade bathtubs. They laughed together. A few minutes later, they stood in front of the presentation panel. The event host called Arthur to the stage, but instead of going alone, he held out his hand to Lucy. "Come with me." She hesitated, took a deep breath, and stepped up. Under the bright stage lights, Lucy faced the audience. Arthur began talking about Project Vita, its social impact, and the results. Then he passed the microphone to her. Lucy swallowed hard. "Hi, I'm Lucy, and I'm not an expert in anything. I don't have a degree, I didn't come from a wealthy family, and my story didn't start out beautiful. But today, I'm here because someone believed I had value, and this project is about that. Giving value to those the world ignores." The audience was silent. "I've cleaned bathrooms, folded bedsheets, taken 2 buses to get to work, and been judged more times than I can count. But now I help others believe they can do more, that they deserve more, that they have the right to dream, even when the world tells them otherwise." Applause. Lots of it. Arthur looked at her as if he were seeing her fullest self for the first time. And Lucy, for the first time, felt like her voice truly mattered. After the event, they walked back through the illuminated streets. "You were amazing," Arthur said. "I almost threw up before going on stage." "No one noticed?" "Good." Silence. They stopped near the Seine River. The city's reflection shimmered on the water. "Arthur," Lucy began, "why did you choose me? Because you don't pretend, because you truly feel, and because you made me feel again." She lowered her gaze. "Sometimes I still feel like I'm not enough for all of this." Arthur took her hand. "Lucy, you are more than enough. You are the kind of change this world needs." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "So, what if I want to keep changing the world, but with you by my side?" "I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. No scandals? We survived the first one, we can handle the rest. And what if I mess up again? Then we'll laugh again." She smiled. "Then I guess we're ready." "We are," he said, "for Paris, for whatever comes next, for us." She rested her head on his shoulder, and for a moment the whole world finally made sense. 6 months later, the new Project Vita building was full of life. Children ran through the hallways, young adults laughed in classrooms, and adults learned how to create their first resumes on brand new computers that still smelled like fresh plastic. At the center of it all was Lucy Ramirez, now officially the coordinator of the training program. White coat, name-embroidered badge, and a smile that only grew stronger every day. She walked through the corridors, greeting students by name. She knew their stories, their doubts, their dreams. Because once, she had been just like them, scared, exhausted, and holding on to hope by a thread. "Lucy." Sophie, one of the volunteers, called. "The afternoon class wants to show you their career fair posters. And there's a little boy who says you're a princess disguised as a teacher. Tell him I'm more like a superhero in disguise, but I'll accept the crown if it's made of aluminum foil." Sophie laughed, and Lucy walked to room 3, where Miguel, an 8-year-old boy, was holding up a drawing of her wearing a red cape and holding a broom. "A broom, Miguel? Because you used to clean, right? But now you fly with it." She laughed, touched. That meant more than any award. Later, Lucy went up to her office. On her desk, she found a cup of hot coffee and a small note. "Today at 6 p.m. Don't run away." She smiled. She knew Arthur had been planning something, but she pretended not to notice. Their relationship was quiet but strong, built on respect, admiration, and far more laughter than she had expected. At exactly 6 p.m. he appeared in the hallway. Dark suit, a subtle smile, and that look she had learned to read from a distance. "Come with me." "Kidnapping me again? If I am, the ransom will be a surprise." "That sounds risky. I was already won over by a pastry in the last chapter. This time, it's more serious. Serious like you cooked. Serious like you'll have to wear heels. Now I'm scared." They arrived at a rooftop decorated with hanging lights, candles on rustic tables, and soft violin music playing in the background. It looked like a scene from a romantic comedy or a dream carefully crafted by someone who noticed every little detail about her. "Arthur, what is this?" "A thank you dinner." "For what?" "For existing." She looked around, visibly moved. "I never thought," she paused, swallowing her emotions, "that I'd be here. With you, with this." And I never thought a woman asleep in a bathtub would change my entire life. She laughed, her eyes shining. I snored, remember? I do. It was the most unforgettable sound of my career. They sat down. The dinner was light. Laughter, white wine, memories, and plans. When they finished dessert, Arthur stood up. Lucy. She looked at him curiously. He took a deep breath, walked toward her, and then tripped. Literally. Oh my God, are you okay? She jumped up, startled. It was part of the plan, he said, standing up, trying to play it off. Or not. But now it'll seem poetic. She burst out laughing. You ruined the moment? I perfected the comedy. Then he pulled a small box from his pocket and knelt down. Lucy froze. Arthur looked into her eyes. You walked into my life without warning and turned everything upside down. I had a strict routine, a life plan, 5-year goals, and you knocked all of that over with a mop in one hand and sarcasm in the other. She covered her mouth, already crying. You showed me what it means to really live. You taught me to laugh at the chaos, to listen with my heart, and to love without fear. And if I'm lucky, I want to stumble through life with you. Forever. He opened the box. A simple, elegant ring with a small diamond and an inscription inside. 5 more minutes. Lucy laughed through her tears. Arthur. Lucy Ramirez, will you be my wife, my partner, and the only person allowed to snore in the bathtub of my heart? She burst into laughter. I can't believe you just said that. I thought about it for weeks, and I still think it sounds romantic. She took a deep breath, knelt down too, and hugged him. Of course I will, you crazy CEO. They kissed right there, between candles and laughter. 2 months later, the garden at the Vita project had been transformed. White decor, light wooden chairs, simple but breathtaking flowers. Children held little baskets of petals. Volunteers laughed among the guests. Sophie had been crying discreetly since breakfast. Lucy walked down the improvised aisle in a light lacy dress, her hair down with small flowers woven in. She walked slowly, full of emotion, to the sound of violins and soft sighs from the guests. Arthur waited at the altar with the grin of a boy. Navy blue suit, burgundy tie, and that look of someone whose life had changed forever the moment she entered it. As she arrived, Lucy glanced at Emily, who was holding the rings with trembling hands. Don't cry, or I'll start too, Lucy whispered. I've been crying for 3 days. Haven't you noticed? The ceremony was simple, with vows written by the bride and groom. Arthur started. Lucy, you're the most beautiful chaos that ever entered my life. Before you, I thought love was something controlled. But now I know love is a mess, laughter in the middle of a meeting, and a kiss that tastes like strawberry ice cream. Lucy laughed, sniffling. And even though I will never understand how you forget your email password every week, I promise to always remind you of who you are, the woman who changed everything. Lucy took his hand and began. Arthur, you were the last thing I expected. A man in a suit, serious face, and a heart that, luckily, I discovered was enormous. You saw me when I didn't even know there was anything left in me to be seen. She was laughing and crying at the same time. I promise to love you even on the days when you're unbearably punctual, even when you try to cook and fail miserably, and even when you wear a tie that matches your socks, especially on those days. Everyone laughed. Emily handed over the rings. The two exchanged a look as if the whole world had gone silent. I love you, Arthur said. I love you too, my real-life CEO. When the officiant officially pronounced them married, Arthur kissed her with the same emotion as their first kiss. And Lucy smiled, knowing she would never be alone again. At the reception, Arthur pulled Lucy to the middle of the dance floor as a slow song played. They danced awkwardly, laughing and whispering jokes to each other. Are you ready to sleep next to a professional snorer? Since day one. And if I snore again, I'll record it and make it my ringtone. Lucy threw her head back, laughing. You are the best mistake I ever made. Arthur pulled her closer. And you are my favorite beginning. Later, as they left the party and walked toward the car decorated with tin cans and a makeshift sign that read, Just married and still alive, Lucy looked back at all the smiling faces and then at Arthur. You know what's crazy? What? All of this started with a nap. The best love stories start when we least expect them, and when we accidentally fall asleep. They laughed and kissed again. Because there, among confetti, friends, and love, Lucy knew she had finally found her place in the world. and this time she didn't need to wake up. What did you think of Lucy and Arthur's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories, and check out more heartfelt stories by clicking here on the final screen.